All right, listen up, agents in the Boise area, or if you have clients maybe moving to the Boise area, here's the top 3 things you need to know about what's happening in our market through the end of October 2024. Number 1, we're going to look at what caused inventory to drop for the first time in 4 months. Number 2, we're going to take a look at what is the difference between 2023 and 2024. There's some pivotal differences in terms of how our market performed, and I think they're very telling for how it's going to perform in the future. And then the last thing, we're going to look at the biggest driver for our market, and I'm going to show you why it's the biggest driver, and it's going to have the biggest impact over the next 12 months. So if you're interested in that, watch the rest of this video. All right, let's get into it right now. So taking a peek at October, we saw inventory drop nearly 10%. So we went from 1,100 listings, if we zoom in here a little bit for you, 1,100 listings down to 1,014. That's the first significant reduction in listings that we've seen pretty much since June of this year. It's been pretty steady. So what does that mean exactly? Well, let's take a look at last year's numbers. So this is the same exact time frame last year. This is what we're staring at. Listings didn't actually drop from September to October. So you might have been thinking, well, this is just a seasonal thing. Actually, it's not really a seasonal thing. So what exactly happened? Well, I want to look at closings as well because we've gotten significant differences between this year and last year. So reminder, this black line is closed sales and the gray line is pending sales. We had 588 closed sales in October. If you look at the entire year, we only had 2 months that were a bigger closed sale. We had May of 2024, so that's 598. We had July of 2024, that's 589. So essentially the same exact closing number as our 2 highest closed unit numbers for the entire year, ending up in October. Well, what did it look like last year? If we look at last year, we had 400 closings. So 400 closings in October, that was down over 15% from September of last year. And if you look, it's one of the lower days for the entire year. I mean, December and January and February were the only days lower than October. So it's one of the 4 lowest days, whereas it's one of the 3 highest for this year. So that's really interesting. What exactly does that mean? Well, that's pretty much what I want to talk to you about today. It is all about interest rates. Now, this might seem obvious to a lot of us, but if you're a real estate agent out there, or maybe you're in the real estate world, everyone's been waiting for the election to happen. You know, as I'm filming this right now, it looks like it's November 8th, which is Friday. So the presidential election's over. We do have a new president. That's Donald Trump. So now what? What are people waiting for now? There's a lot of pent-up demand, and it's hinging on interest rates. So let's dive back into the data and figure out, why did October of 2024 have such a good month? If you look at it, you can see 588 closed in October. Well, what happened the first part of September? Our closing time frame is roughly 45 days. So in the first part of September, we had the lowest rates we've had this entire year. We were in the low 6s, depending on what you were doing. Some people were getting in the high 5s. And subsequently, we're at 588 homes sold. So what does this mean? It means we are heavily, even though you might be thinking like people are waiting for prices to come down, or you're thinking that people are waiting for presidential elections, it's not true. They're not waiting for those things. They're waiting for rates. They're waiting for affordability. And that's going to be true the next 12 months. Rates will continue to be the biggest driver of home sales. Period. The end. It's been that way for the last 3 or 4 years, as you all know. But this is so evident that we are so extremely sensitive to rates. When they drop, you're seeing activity fly off the shelf. There's no other reason why this October would have been such a great year, especially given the fact that last year it was one of the worst 4 months, and this year it's one of the top 3 months. And essentially, you could just say is basically, tied for number 1. I mean, we're 10 closings off number 1. Okay, so let's keep diving back into the data and see what else is different between this year and last year. So again, this is 2024 that you're staring at here today. You go back to 2023, inventory was significantly lower for the entire, basically the whole year, right? Which means units were lower for the whole year, right? We've sold more homes in 2024 than we did in 2023. It's about 5% more homes overall. So it's not a significant amount, especially given the fact that you go back to 2022 and, we dropped almost 20%, 2022 to 2023. And 2021 to 22, we dropped significantly as well. So what's the overall takeaway in this? Well, I'm reminded of some of the biggest questions we get as real estate agents. They say, Chase, is now a good time to buy? Or is now a good time to sell? So let's stick with the buy side. You've probably heard this before if you've heard it from me, or if you listen to this channel for a while. Someone says, is now a good time to buy? Well, the only thing I could tell you is 2 questions need to be answered. Number 1, do you have a good enough reason to buy a home? If the answer is yes, then go to the second question. Can you afford it? If you have a good enough reason and you can afford it, then you need to go forward and buy with confidence. Do not wait. The only time you know that we've hit the bottom of the market is after it's already gone. Just like the only time you know we hit the top is after it's already gone. I can tell you that we are so rate sensitive, and there's so many things that have caused pent-up demand. I'll just list a few here. I can go back to 2017 and 18 and 19 and 20, and the biggest objection my firm was getting when we're talking to clients looking to buy and sell real estate is, hey, I would list my home. I really want to move, but there's nothing for me to buy. So I'm not going to list my home because I'm not going to be able to buy anything. So we heard that objection forever. It switched from that objection over to, in 2022, hey, I would sell my home, but I've got a 3 or 4% interest rate. I don't want to trade it for a 5, 6, 7% interest rate. Then we fast forward to this year, the last 3 or 4 months, we've had everyone telling us, hey, I would sell, but I'm waiting to see what happens with the presidential election. And, we don't have to really dive deep there. People have all sorts of bizarre theories depending on who's elected and why they're going to be good or bad and how it's going to impact real estate. And honestly, none of us really know what the presidential election truly means in terms of pricing and value. I'm sure you'd love to comment and tell me why you know it is, and I'd encourage you to do so. But now that's over. So there's all this pent-up demand, and this has been 6 or 7 years now. These people need to move. People are, unfortunately, people die. Unfortunately, people get divorced. Fortunately, people are getting married and having babies. And there's these life events happening with or without interest rates being high or low, with or without presidential elections, with or without inventory. So all this pent-up demand, I can tell you it's ready to burst. And if we see any sort of downward pressure on rates, back near the 6s, even high 5s, you are going to see this market explode, in my opinion. So as of November 8th, 2024, I can tell you the next 12 months of real estate will 100% be driven by interest rates. And there's going to be other factors too. I mean, there's black swan stuff like obviously global major events, wars, etc., that could impact this as well. But barring any major events, we are in a rate-driven market, and if you see the rates come down as a seller, that you can take advantage of that. There's going to be more and more activity. Also, if you're selling, you're probably buying, so you can get a better rate as well. But if you have a good enough reason to buy and you can afford it, you should buy with confidence, because if rates do come down, you're going to see pressure on prices. I believe they're going to go upward. I don't see any reason why they're going to go downward. We have roughly 74% of all homes in the United States have equity. More than 50% equity. Sorry, I misspoke. They have more than 50% equity. I think it's something like 35% of all homes are owned outright. There is not going to be some massive exodus of real estate, barring anything we can't foresee. So, given all these things, that's your outlook on the next 12 months. Watch what happens to interest rates. And by and large, that's what's happening to the 10-year Treasury note. If we see those getting bought up and the rate goes down, it's going to cause interest rates to go down. If that continues to rise, which it's been fluctuating up and down, that's really going to determine the future of the next 12 months of our real estate market. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments on YouTube. You can reply directly to this email to your favorite real estate agent that you work with here at City of Trees Real Estate, and we would be honored to help you out. And if you want some of this data and you want to comb through it yourself, just send us a message. We'd be happy to send it to you. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing Thanksgiving holiday in November, and we'll see you back in December.